Now, I want to tell you about a unit from an organization called Take Charts Today. This one does require registration. It is free, but it does require registration. And they are from the University of Arizona. They have a unit called the Receiving Unit. And the reason why I've chosen to talk about this unit is because they explain a concept that not too many people know about: social capital. Right? We know about regular capital and money, but that social capital can be just as important when you fall on hard times. I want to introduce you to the Juarez family. The two pictures that you see on your screen right now are of a migrant family that I had the distinct honor and pleasure of interviewing. And this is a part of the process of us gaining deeper understanding and awareness of the needs of our most disadvantaged communities and groups in Washington. And as I mentioned earlier, our migrant communities are in much need of support. So because we want to continue to learn what those needs are academically and financially, we were able to interview them. And all they wanted to do was work. I asked, what are your short-term goals? What are your midterm goals? What are your long-term goals? To work 7 days a week. We want to work. We want to help our families. We want to give our children a better future. And these are extremely hardworking individuals. I already shared with you some of the circumstances in which they have to get up to work every day. They're remarkable. I asked about that. Hey, but what about the weather? What about the long hours? Is backbreaking labor? And they said, no, we know, but all we want to do is work. We just want to work more. We want to work as much as possible. I was so inspired and so proud to be an immigrant because of their work ethic and their commitment to their family, their commitment to their children, and giving them a better future. Now, the Juarez family, when I asked, hey, I know there are times when you can't work because the weather doesn't allow it, and you could fall in hard financial times. What do you do then? Where do you go to for support? And they said, well, we go to family. Again, that collectivist mentality, those collectivist values, that's where you turn. You turn to your family and your community for support. And I said, well, what happens if your family's also going through a hard time? And they said, we make it work somehow because we don't want to be seen as living off the government. And that really impacted me because they're paying taxes. They're very proud. They're very proud people. And they didn't want to be seen as, hey, you're lazy and you just came to take advantage of the system. They were so proud, and they wanted to show how hard they were working to support their family, to meet their own needs. And that really got me thinking about this unit, because one of the beautiful things it shows, aside from explaining what social capital is, the importance of relying on your friends and family in times of need. It also destigmatizes government assistance. There's great shame often that individuals that have the need to temporarily rely on government assistance, there's great shame because so many people say, well, if you do that, it's because you're lazy. If you do that, it's because you don't want to work. And what this unit does is it creates awareness of the fact that if you do rely on government assistance temporarily until you get back on your feet, is as a result of experiencing trauma. Financial trauma, the death of a spouse, the death of a parent, a work-related injury or accident, disease, some type of nature disaster where your house was blown away by a tornado, hurricane, something like that, or a global pandemic. So many people that were employed, working very hard, had those 6 months of savings that economists say we need to have to meet our needs in case of an emergency, were all of a sudden needing financial support from government agencies because they could no longer meet their needs. This is a result of financial trauma, not of laziness, not of not wanting to work, not of wanting to take advantage of anything. These are things that happen. And I think it's such an empowering thing to know, hey, this can happen to anyone. This is here to help me get through this temporarily, and I should use it if I need it. Why? Because there's no reason to feel shame. If that's what our taxes are there for, and you're contributing to the economy and you're paying your taxes, it's there for a reason. We don't want citizens and individuals who come here and work so hard to feel like they have to work even harder or feel hopeless. There are other ways. Temporarily, again, I want to emphasize this, temporarily, when you need that support, those programs are there for a reason. One of the things that I love about this unit is that it creates that empathy and that awareness. Every student can experience this. Even if you're working with students that come from higher incomes, this can happen to anyone. And in fact, many of the scenarios that are shared in this unit come from families that were doing very well, but one or two of the parents lost their jobs, and all of a sudden they were needing to rely on that government assistance for support. There was no shame in it. That was just a part of their process and their growth and their financial experience. So one of the activities that this unit has students do is it has them come up with a scenario where they will temporarily need that assistance. Think about what assistance they're going to take. Think about budgeting that assistance as part of, including that income as part of their budget. And this unit really does a great job at explaining budgeting, the importance of having that budget. So please check it out if you're ever interested in cross alignment with government, with civics. This is a great unit for that as well. Keys to Your Financial Future is another great financial education curriculum, a full turnkey curriculum. It was created by the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and it was created specifically for foster youth. Now, again, any student can experience a hardship, death of a parent, God forbid, and see themselves in this situation. This particular curriculum, even though it was created for foster youth, can benefit any student, because what it does is it explains financial concepts and topics in great detail, because often our foster youth don't have parents or leaders in their lives guiding them through these financial decisions. And it is so important for them to know exactly step by step what these terms mean and how to implement this financial knowledge into what they're already going through. I also want to mention this was created with experts from around the country, as well as former foster youth who shared what they'd wish they'd known about personal finance as they aged out of foster care. So it has that youth co-design element that pretty much guarantees our students in foster care, on home students, migrant students, students who experience economic hardship, students who have higher mobility rates also can relate to this content. Okay, so we talked about how diverse our state is. And with that being said, the vast majority of our students who come from different cultures have Spanish as their first language. We have prioritized identifying financial education resources in more than one language. But again, we do prioritize Spanish because we know that that's where the need is the highest. Additionally, we also know most of our English learners do come from low-income households, and this was able to be determined as they qualify for low and reduced lunch. Now, with that being said, so many of our students are so proud of their heritage, and they qualify upon graduation. They graduate with a seal of biliteracy. That means that they complete an exam where it shows that they're proficient in English and more than proficient in English and at least one more language. So it could be 2, 3, 4, as many as they prove proficiency is in. And the graph here shows Spanish, again, by a landslide, the most popular language, the most frequently represented language, followed by Russian and Mandarin in third place. And I want to highlight the fact that in 2018, we had a little under 2,000 students graduating with this distinction. And in 2022, we had double that number, more than double that number. And we expect it to continue to grow as people are realizing bilingualism is a really beneficial skill to have, especially when it comes to employment opportunities. Here in Washington, we know we have one of the highest or most trade reliant states in the nation, with 40% of our jobs being tied rather to international commerce. We have all these big companies, Microsoft, Google, and if you have so many jobs that are trade reliant, having being bilingual or speaking more than one language is really going to give you an edge above all other job applicants. So we want to make sure our students know that, because it's such an important thing. And again, very empowering and make you feel proud about that incredible skills. Being bilingual is an incredible skill. I'm not just, I'm not tooting my horn. It's just something that really does make you employable. And we want to empower students as much as we can.